Today we're looking at a pivotal moment in modern history that occurred on December 30th, 2006. The execution of Saddam Hussein. This event marked the dramatic end of a man who ruled Iraq with an iron fist for nearly a quarter of a century. His downfall and ultimate fate were broadcast across the globe, symbolizing a new, albeit turbulent, era for Iraq and the wider Middle East. So, who was Saddam Hussein? Born in 1937 in a village near Tikrit, his early life was marked by poverty and instability. He joined the revolutionary Ba'ath Party in his late teens, quickly becoming involved in its clandestine activities. His ambition was clear from the start. In 1959, he was part of a failed assassination attempt against Iraq's then-leader, General Abd al-Karim Qasem, wounded. Saddam fled the country, first to Syria and then to Egypt, where he continued his political activities and studies. His fortunes changed dramatically in 1963 when the Ba'ath Party seized power in a coup. Saddam returned to Iraq and began his steady, ruthless climb through the party ranks. He was a key player in another coup in 1968, which solidified Ba'athist control and brought his cousin Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr to the presidency. As vice president, Saddam became the real power behind the throne, building a formidable security apparatus and consolidating his influence. By 1979, he had pushed al-Bakr aside and officially became the president of Iraq, chairman of the Revolutionary Command Council, and the leader of the Ba'ath Party. His consolidation of power was swift and brutal. In a now infamous televised meeting, he read out the names of alleged conspirators within the party, who were then taken away, many to their deaths. This sent a chilling message. Absolute loyalty was demanded, and dissent would not be tolerated. Saddam's rule was defined by a complex mix of modernization and extreme repression. On one hand, he used Iraq's vast oil wealth to fund ambitious national projects. He launched a nationwide literacy campaign, built schools and hospitals, and modernized the country's infrastructure. Living standards for many Iraqis improved, and he was praised by some international organizations for these efforts. On the other hand, this progress was built on a foundation of fear. His regime was responsible for countless human rights abuses. Political opponents, real or imagined, were imprisoned, tortured, or simply disappeared. Ethnic and religious groups, particularly the Kurds in the north and the Shia Muslims in the south, faced systematic persecution. His foreign policy was equally aggressive and led to devastating conflicts. In 1980, he launched an invasion of Iran, starting a brutal 8-tier war that resulted in hundreds of thousands of casualties on both sides and left both economies in ruins. The war saw the use of chemical weapons, including the horrific attack on the Kurdish town of Halabia in 1988, where thousands of civilians were killed by poison gas. Just 2 years after the war with Iran ended, Saddam made another fateful decision. In August 1990, he ordered the invasion of neighboring Kuwait, claiming it was historically part of Iraq and accusing it of slant drilling to steal Iraqi oil. This act of aggression was met with swift international condemnation and led to the 1991 Gulf War. A U.S.-led coalition launched Operation Desert Storm, liberating Kuwait in a matter of weeks and decimating the Iraqi military. Though defeated, Saddam remained in power, but Iraq was now under heavy international sanctions. For the next decade, his regime played a cat-and-mouse game with unweapons inspectors, who were tasked with ensuring Iraq had dismantled its weapons of mass destruction programs. This period of sanctions brought immense hardship to the Iraqi people. The political landscape shifted dramatically after the September 11th attacks in 2001, though there was no evidence linking Saddam's regime to the attacks the U.S. administration under President George W. Bush labeled. Iraq is part of an axis of evil and accused it of possessing weapons of mass destruction and supporting terrorism. Despite significant international opposition and skepticism from weapons inspectors, the U.S. and its allies launched an invasion of Iraq in March 2003. The regime collapsed with surprising speed. Baghdad fell within weeks, and the iconic images of Saddam's statue being toppled in Firdos Square were broadcast worldwide. But Saddam himself was nowhere to be found. He had vanished, becoming one of the most wanted fugitives on the planet. For nearly 9 months, a massive manhunt was underway. The US military circulated a deck of most wanted Iraqi playing cards, with Saddam as the ace of spades. Finally, on December 13, 2003, acting on a tip, US forces located him. He wasn't in a palace or a fortified bunker, but hiding in a small, cramped underground hole, a spider hole, near a farmhouse in Ad-Dor, not far from his hometown of Tikrit. The disheveled, bearded man who emerged bore little resemblance to the powerful dictator who had once terrorized a nation. With Saddam in custody, the next step was to bring him to justice. The Iraqi interim government established the Iraqi Special Tribunal, a court specifically designed to try high-ranking members of the former regime for genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. The trial began in October 2005. Saddam and several co-defendants were first charged for their role in the 1982 Dujail massacre. This incident was a reprisal for a failed assassination attempt against Saddam in the town of Dujail. In the aftermath, his regime rounded up over 140 men and boys from the town, who were subsequently tortured and executed. Others were imprisoned, and their farmlands were destroyed. The trial was a chaotic and often theatrical affair. Saddam was defiant throughout, challenging the court's legitimacy, arguing with the judges and delivering long political speeches. He frequently appeared in court holding a Quran, presenting himself as a nationalist leader who had been illegally overthrown by foreign invaders. The proceedings were plagued by delays, the assassinations of several defense lawyers, and the resignation of the first chief judge. Despite the disruptions, the prosecution presented evidence, including documents bearing Saddam's signature authorizing the crackdown, and harrowing testimony from survivors of Dujail. On November 5, 2006, the verdict was delivered. Saddam Hussein was found guilty of crimes against humanity and sentenced to death by hanging. His lawyers appealed the verdict, but the appeal was rejected by Iraq's highest court on December 26th, which also ordered that the execution be carried out within 30 days. The Iraqi government, led by Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki, moved quickly. In the pre-dawn hours of December 30th, 2006, the day of the Muslim festival of Eid al-Adha, Saddam Hussein was taken to the gallows at an Iraqi army base in Baghdad known to US forces as Camp Justice. The execution was filmed, and unofficial mobile phone footage was leaked shortly after, causing a global uproar. The leaked video showed Saddam being taunted by his executioners. He remained defiant, refusing a hood, and reciting the Shahada, the Islamic declaration of faith. The trapdoor opened, and the life of one of the 20th century's most notorious dictators came to an abrupt end. He was buried the next day in his birthplace of Alajah. The execution was a deeply polarizing event. For many of his victims, particularly the Kurds and Shia who suffered so grievously under his rule, it was a moment of justice, a final closure. Celebrations erupted in some parts of Iraq. However, for others, particularly Sunni Arabs who had formed his base of support, he was a martyr, a symbol of Arab nationalism, executed by a government they saw as a puppet of foreign powers. The timing of the execution on a major religious holiday was seen as a profound insult. Internationally, the reaction was mixed. While many governments agreed that Saddam was a brutal tyrant who deserved to be punished, the use of the death penalty and the manner of the execution drew widespread criticism. The leaked video with its sectarian taunts fueled fears that rather than promoting reconciliation, the execution would only deepen the sectarian violence that was already tearing Iraq apart. Looking back, the execution of Saddam Hussein was a watershed moment, but it was not the clean end to a chapter that many had hoped for. It closed the book on his tyrannical rule, but it also opened a new and complex phase of Iraq's history. The country continued to be plagued by insurgency, sectarian conflict, and political instability for years to come. The power vacuum left by his removal had profound and lasting consequences, contributing to the rise of extremist groups and reshaping the political map of the entire Middle East. The story of Saddam Hussein's fall is a stark reminder of the complexities of justice, power, and the enduring consequences of a dictator's reign. It underscores the challenges of nation-building and reconciliation in the wake of decades of brutal oppression. Thank you for joining us for this look back at a significant event on this day in history. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the past. We'll see you next time.